Hi Year 9. I'm going to go through the checkpoint a little bit that I've set for today, just to help you out with some of the questions, particularly those that need a bit of working steps, just to give you a bit of a helping hand there. Okay, so just starting off, the first one, I don't suppose there'll be many problems with the first one. You've got a square, it's a 3 by 3, and you want the area. There's a sum to do that. For this one, it's doing it backwards. The area is 16 centimetres, and you want these two numbers to make the area 16. Okay, question 2. It wants an even cube number. Well, a cube number is a number that you get when you cube something. So these are boxes I'm going to draw. So this is what it means to cube a number. You times it by itself 3 times to cube, and what we want is we want to get an even answer. Okay, so the cube number is this even value you'd get at the end here. This is going to be a cube number. For the square number, it's very similar. To square something and make a square number, you times something by itself twice. So something goes in there, but at the end of that, you're supposed to get an odd number out. Okay, so what could this odd number be? Okay, number 3. You've got these cards. They're supposed to be in size order. That's getting small to big. The mean's meant to be 5 and the mode is meant to be 3. Okay, so let's think about what those two things mean. Mode of 3, first of all. Well, the mode is the most common. So you've got to make sure that when you're done filling in these numbers, 3 is the most common one. The mean, that's where you average all of the numbers out, make them all the same size. That's where you do the total. And then you divide that by how many numbers you've got. Okay, but there's more information we can get out of this mean. If you look at what you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. Okay, so that's how many numbers there are. So I can use that and figure out what the total is. So the mean is 5. The total we don't know yet. But when I divide it by how many, which is 7, the answer you're supposed to get is 5. So what you need to do is, with this information here, you need to work out the total. Okay. If you can work out the total, you can then work out what these two missing ones need to add up to. Okay, and you can do that by subtracting the numbers that you know. Okay, so to recap, find the total of all the numbers, subtract the ones that you know, and you'll be left with the total of these two. Okay, but then again, the mode's got to be 3, so 3's got to be the most common of the lot. Okay, so that gives you a bit of a clue. And then the range, once you've done part A, part B says what's the range? The range is just the difference between the biggest and the smallest. That's only 1 mark. And that should be clear, okay, because the biggest and smallest are already given there, so you can do that quickly. Okay, so that's number 3. Leave that for another second or so. Moving on to number 4, okay, so this is an area question because you've got two 2D shapes. It's talking about the area. The area of the parallelogram, well, we need to know what the formula is to work that out, but for a parallelogram, that's base times height. That's a times symbol there, let me sort that out. Okay, that's for a parallelogram. It's supposed to be 3 times the area of this triangle. Now the triangle is a slightly different formula to the parallelogram. It's half times the base times the height. Okay, remember it had that half in there as well. I'm just going to put b times h because it's the same, it's base times height. Okay, so you want to work out the triangle first. Okay, and you'll get a number for that. And then the parallelogram is meant to be 3 times that value. So you can times this area by 3. Okay, and then that is the same as this value times this value, and you can work out h. Okay, and what we're supposed to show that it's 4. So when you do all of that working out, you'll end up with 4 as your answer. Okay, for 5, okay, it's our favourite topic. Okay, it's a circle question. If you want to listen to the song again, you can. You can Google Circle Song 2, I think it's called. It's the area we want. The area from the song is pi r squared. That sounds like area to me. Okay, so this is the sum that I need to do. The diameter is what I'm given, but that's not what goes into this sum, is it? The diameter doesn't appear in here. It's the radius we need to go into here. So the diameter is 12. There's the centre. Can you figure out the radius? Okay. What's the radius? What's r? Then you put it into the sum. Okay. And then it wants your area to 1 decimal place. So you've got to round your answer as well. And that's number 5. Okay, for 6, this is a frequency table. Okay, all this data for the finishing time is grouped together. The frequency is down there. The modal class, or that's the class that appears the most, the one that's the most common or the most frequent. And out of these, the one with the highest frequency, that class there, that's the one that's the modal one. The class that the median is in, the median is the middle value. Okay, here's our frequencies down here. This tells me how many values I've got, how many pieces of data. I'm also told in the question how many members of the club there are. So what should happen is if I add these values up, that's supposed to be all of my data values. That's meant to be 31. Okay, and we're after the middle value, the one that happens in the middle. So the sum to work out where the middle goes is something we've covered in class. You take the number of values you've got, you add 1 to it, and then you halve your answer to that. Okay, so that is going to give me a value, which is the position of the middle value. Okay, so then when you go down your table, you want to keep adding up your frequencies, okay, as a running total. So in this bar, we've got 10 values. By the time you've got through the second bar, you've had 10 plus 12, which is 22 values. And then after the third bar, you've had another 6, that's 28 values. And then by the end, you've had your 31. And you've got to work out which is the group, which is the row that jumps over your middle value down here. Okay, where does the middle value going to appear? And that's going to be your class, and you'd write down one of these 4 things here. Okay, for part C, we're estimating the mean. Okay, that's the same sum as we had before for the mean. We want a big total, and we divide by how many values. Now, because these are grouped, we need the midpoints because we're estimating where these values are in this gap. Okay, they're somewhere between 30 and 40. We're going to pretend they're all at the midpoint. So you want to fill in this column, which is the middle of each of these groups. Then to work out the total, we need to multiply the frequency by these midpoints. Okay, and that's an estimate for our total values each time. So in this column, you want to do frequency, F, times midpoint, M. Okay, I'll do the first one for you. 10 35s is 350. Okay, fill in all the numbers, and then you need a big total at the end of this one. You'll get a value for your total. Then if you add the frequencies, that's how many data values you've got. But you've done that before. You should know what that number is already. And then to get the mean, you want to divide the total over here by how many values over here. So I'm just going to put divide that way. Okay, and that's your estimate for your mean. Okay, finally, this is an exam style question. I think I recognise this from a GCSE past paper. So you've got a floor in the shape of a trapezium. Right, so this is I think the most complicated shape we've looked at. It's got a formula for it though. What you want is you want to find the parallel sides, which are these two, but you can draw yours without a wonky line. Okay, so we remember add those bits together, then you multiply by the distance in between, and then after that you also have to halve as well. So add together, add the blues, times by the 7, and then half your answer. Okay, so 3 steps to get the area. John's going to paint the floor, okay, and he's using these 5-litre tins to do it, okay? So it's going to be to do with how many tins he needs to cover all of the area on the floor, okay? So what you want to do, you want to write down the area once you've worked it out. A for area. Keep that number to one side, okay? 5 litres costs £16.99, and 1 litre covers 2 metres squared. So firstly, you might want to think about, well, how many litres do I need to cover the floor? Okay, if each litre is 2 metres squared, I need to find out how many times I can fit 2 metres squared into my area. So for this line, you want to do your area and divide it by 2. Okay, A is the number that you got for the area. Okay, and that's how many litres you need. Okay, if you get a decimal value, then you might need to do some rounding to work out what to do with the amount that's left over. Yeah, are you going to need to round up or round down? Okay, but how many litres will completely cover your floor? Then, if you know how many litres you need, you then can work out how many of these 5-litre tins you need. So if I'm trying to divide the 5-litre tins into this amount, you then need to divide by 5. And that's how many tins. Okay, so once you've worked out how many tins, you know how much a tin costs, and then you can work out your total cost. Okay, so if you know how many tins, you can then times that by your price of a tin. Equals total cost. Okay, and then at the end, you've only got £160 to spend. If your cost is bigger than 160, then obviously you're not going to have enough money. Okay, and I think that should be got. Has he got enough money? Okay. Right, so those are the steps. Okay, find out total cost at the end of this. Compare it to your £160. Okay, have you got enough? Make sure you write your conclusion as well. Okay, I believe that's all the questions. So hopefully that's given you a bit of a head start. That's given you a bit of a helping hand. If you could submit your answers to Show My Homework or by my email, that would be fine as well. And I hope you all have a great Easter break. Okay, enjoy yourselves and stay safe. Thanks for your time.